Hi, so today we have Allen Fung. He is the Vice President for VP of Engineering at Predactiv. We work together at Share This as well. And he is the best person to have a conversation with. And I'll tell why. He has been an engineer. He's also been a data scientist. And like he will dive into his background more. But I think there's a lot of questions that I have around how AI is, you know, changing the way how data scientists, data engineering, and engineering aspects works, transforming those roles, a bunch of other things. But before I dive into that, Alan, I want to, why don't you, in your own words, introduce yourself?
Yeah. Thanks for the intro, Imran. I'm a VP of engineering at Predactiv. Before that, I co-founded Orkata, and we created some of the most popular social applications on Facebook. And then before that, I worked as a product manager for a couple of years. And then before that, I worked as an engineer for many years.
I
Hey,
never
Imran.
got,
uh,
yeah, I
uh,
never got the chance to ask you this, but how did you transition from product manager to engineering? And let's start from there. If that's fun.
Because I studied engineering in college. So I was a CS undergrad, and then I got my master's in electrical engineering. I focused on computer engineering. So then I have a pretty deep technical background, but like I've always been very interested in business because my dad was an entrepreneur. So then I lived in I was born and raised in the Silicon Valley, and my dad founded um, probably the first company that built a single chip PC. It's just a single chip with everything integrated, like the CPU, graphics memory, all of that. He had this vision of having a computer that you can put in your pocket and carry everywhere.
Hmm.
The name of his company was Vedam, and it means come with me in Latin. So then
Wow.
yeah,
That is,
so
and
that's
now, is he still with us?
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
still
So
here.
so I'm sh- so I'm sure like when he sees iPhone and all these other tools like Rabbit R1 and all those AI tools, he's probably like, he feels like I was right, like this happened.
Yeah, that was his vision. So then I don't know if you know of this device called the Simon. It was made by
No.
IBM. It was the first smartphone. So then his chip was in that product, and then many of the other early mobile devices.
Oh, wow. That's actually
But
pretty cool.
that's how I got into technology. And
Man, this is cool. And you've also been a founder too, right? You founded a company, Orkata, right?
yeah, Orkata.
So what was that about?
Yeah, Orkata. I um I was building Facebook applications with a friend, and then
Hmm.
and then at that point in time, it was nobody was building these applications, so it was very easy to get users. Like people found us through the Facebook search, and then a few of our apps took off. So then we just went on from there. The most popular one, it was called Bumper Sticker New. It's like an image sharing application.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like a YouTube for funny images.
Huh.
People can use it to upload and share these animated GIFs, and also find these animated GIFs very easily.
Wow.
So that grew to probably around 30 to 40 million monthly active users. So at that
Wow.
time, it was one of the most popular apps.
That is pretty cool. And then we of course then I see that you went to share this and and you still now you're part of Predactiv, which is a newly formed company, right? Or the newly formed share that's rebranded.
Yeah, it's a newly formed company that focuses on our um our data technology. So share this is more of a data company, and then the
Hmm.
idea of Predactiv um, is to create a platform that allows anybody to use the technology that share this has to generate our data.
So let's jump right in, right? So I have some thoughts how AI is, and I just want to throw it up at you. The first one up is the future of machine learning, right? Um, and if let's even forget that for a second, like with AI being advancing, if you remember knowledge graph and embeddings work that we were doing when we were at Share This, right? We had couple of or more than a couple of data scientists who were working on it, and you were yourself also was working on it. My question is now, Alan, it's very fairly easy. You can pick any foundation model and you can upload data. You can do all of that stuff on the fly. Like someone who is a PM like me, who is a designer, can actually start coding front-end apps, even figure out to build an app, right? Or do some of the data science work, maybe, possibly, or data engineering work at this point. Where do you see in like someone who is a VP of engineering, you're seeing this day and out, you're in the data business for more than a decade now. How are you seeing this evolving over the course of the next 3 to 5 years?
I think like we'll make progress on a lot of the challenges that we have right now. Like like right now the models hallucinate. So then we'll make progress on that. And then right now the models aren't that good at task planning. So it'll get better at that. Like the models, everyone talks about agents right now, but the agents, like if you try some of the agent platforms out there, they'll get stuck into loops. They're not able to really act autonomously. So I think like in the shorter term, those are things that we'll make progress in. I think like there's gonna be advancements in um, model architectures, and then I think there's gonna be advancements in just how we use data to train the models. Because like let's say we're trying to build an AGI. I'd say that the data in the internet, which is being used right now, it's not that representative of how humans think.
Mhm.
So like if there's a way to generate a better data set to train the model, then that would create a better model and maybe even with less compute. Like I think there was a similar revolution with image recognition. So
Yeah.
after this thing called ImageNet came out, like a much better data set to train with, then that drove a lot of the improvements in computer vision in addition to better compute. So the same thing, it could happen with language models. A better data set can also give us better language models.
And would you say like companies, like for example now, OpenAI has its ChatGPT, right? Claude has its own thing. So now it's very consumer focused. I'm sure you can actually they can use that data for training purposes. Do you think that's gonna be very like that's one way that they're doing it? What are some other ways also that you can, get your hands on the human data set, right? Like to think like a human, to build that articulated AGI, what would that mean, right?
I think it's gonna be like synthetic data. So like somehow leveraging current models to create data that's more representative of how humans think. And then like a lot of the data that we use for training,
Mhm.
it might even be wasteful because like some random fact that
Yeah.
you're you have in your training data, really what use is that? It's really just memorizing that fact. It's not helping the model build the thinking process.
And would you say that I actually agree with you, right? Like so like have you played with the O1 that came out with ChatGPT or OpenAI
Oh
released
yeah,
that?
yeah, the O1 preview.
What do you yeah, go ahead.
I think it's definitely better with task planning because with previous models, if you ask it to do just a single thing, then it's pretty reliable. But if you tell it to if you try to ask it to give you a sequence of tasks to do something, then that's when it becomes more unreliable because like I think every single step it has some percentage of being right. So then as you have more and more steps, then um, eventually the percentage of that whole process being right is it's gonna be not that high, even though maybe like one individual task, it's gonna be very high percentage.
And
But with the O1, then it seems like the model it's using itself, like it's using itself to they call it these thinking tokens. So it's using itself to improve the task planning. And then from what I understand, the model itself, um,
mhm.
there was some training done to that was focused on task planning to help it be better at task planning.
And so
So it's definitely better at task planning. It also takes more time to give the answer because it seems like
yeah.
it's using itself to get more information and then produce the answer.
Would you say that like are you familiar with perplexity.ai?
Yeah, I've played with it maybe a
So
few times.
yeah, so if you turn on their pro feature, I think it's an agent. I could be wrong, but it has this thing. It's like, hey, let me search, let me research, let me parse. It's not the same as thinking process though, or task, but it does a better, I guess, agent approach, right? How would you say, like when I look at that, to be honest, like I did some search this morning, and so it's like, hey, let me find statistics, let me understand the report, and let me just parse through and give you the information. Versus GPT, if I do the same thing, it's like, hey, let me evaluate, let me assess, let me find something. Now let me see the trends and evaluate. How different is that compared to what Perplexity.ai is doing? Because a lot of people can say is maybe similar, which is not, right? It's probably agents, what they have in the background, compared to O1 model is more different. As you mentioned, it's evaluating itself based on that. How are both different in that case?
I don't know too much about Perplexity. I haven't used it recently, so
Oh,
I don't know.
no, it's fine. Because, or let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about the agent, right? So how an AI agent that has a multi-step, right? So like LangChain, right? Or anything else that's out there, right? Compared to O1. How would it, what I'm trying to get to understand is like, how do you think O1 model can actually make agents more efficient in terms of like how companies are planning to use them?
I wouldn't say more efficient. I would say more accurate, like because it can create a more accurate task plan. Because the model itself, it was trained to do task planning better. Like LangChain, it will just use some model that maybe it wasn't trained specifically for task planning. So then it tries to layer task planning on top of that.
And if we shift more towards so we talked about the aspect of like O1 and the future that you mentioned is like, hey, these hallucinations will go away. How much, and this is something you can think about and tell me, um And I did address that. So for example, Alan, I was able to do embedding work or build knowledge graph, build that relationships. I would upload any kind of data and I'm like, hey, build me a knowledge graph. This is different data sectors, right? And then I take some random data, let's say from AWS or Amazon data marketplace, upload that in, ask GPT to do it, you know, and it gives me an embedding that, hey, this makes sense based on this. This is the relationship. This is knowledge graph. The more you fuel it, it builds that. It is fairly easy. That stuff used to be tough before, right? Like that stuff would require us time versus now it's really faster. Tell me if I'm wrong, and also want to get your take on this as well.
So by knowledge graph, what do you mean specifically? Like a graph that has nodes and relationships, and then
Yes.
each. Yeah, I think I I think a language model, it can definitely help you write code that will take data and help you build the graph. I like what's the specific example that you did that you thought performed really well?
Yeah. So what I was doing was I was working with a friend on it, and we were trying to figure out, hey, what are some relations between a sales org? So when you look at the sales org, right, what are some key relationships within the roles, within the tiers, different orgs? What is their, like for example, in AE, when do they work with a sales rep? What's the challenge, right? So that's one. And then we would also add different data. When we talk about different data, I'm referring to more orgs. So orgs, we will bring different org charts or, how they were formed, how their company is, how each sales org is different within each company. And the whole idea of the knowledge graph is to understand that relationship, right? I'm just giving an example, right? So just to understand the relationship, what it is. So the model for the AI model is able to understand. So the same thing I did was I actually built this particularly verticalized engine. It's a very religious engine, like a search engine kind of a thing. And I just built it for fun. And so what I was doing is like to understand what is the correlation of the books that are there, what are some key websites, books that are actually more accurate, what's the process, what is correlating, um, are they correlated to each other or not? Like from that aspects, that's one. So that's very qualitative, I would say. The other thing was, and this was fairly, I think last year when I was trying to figure out the embeddings, right? So I was like, if I upload, so I was doing this class for Duke, right, to understand how embeddings work and so forth. And so I uploaded, trying to remember, the data of cars, because that was something I remember Oleg talking about. We used to work with him. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take that. And so I took generated data about a list of cars, the kind of manufacturers, right? And then I took the name of the brands. So it was manufacturers and the types of cars. And the other thing was very down. So there was a distant intermediate. For example, you would say Ford is a manufacturer, Ford Motors, but it didn't have the data for what kind of cars do they have and what's the difference. So I actually took two different data sets, tried to make sure that, hey, if I can map it, how it would look. And then I upload that data to OpenAI, right? Use their embedding model that they have, and it was able to build a relationship. It was like, hey, 0.91, this is Ford Motors, and they have Ford Fiesta, whatever the name. And this is the relationship, this is more Justin. And then I took that and I put it up, I think in Excel to try to build a chart out of it. Again, that was me. I'm a noob when it comes to data science. I can work with data scientists, but I don't execute, right? So that's what I'm trying to understand is like when you look at it from that perspective, would you say that AI is really transforming those roles for data engineering, data scientists, like speeding it up?
Yeah, I'd say that for this task, current language models are pretty good at it. Like I think what you're saying is it's essentially you have nodes in the graph, and you
Mhm.
categorize them, maybe in different dimensions, and you use that to connect the different nodes.
Yeah.
So language models, they're really good at this task. So it can really do the job of an engineer or a data science for this particular task. But I mean, I would still say it's far from replacing a data scientist or engineer because we don't do only those tasks. Like there's so many other
Yeah.
tasks that we do. So in a way, it's a good thing. Like it augments us more than replaces us. So it helps us do more than we could do before.
And so in that light, I know I didn't have that as a topic, but in that light, do you feel like this will 10x a lot of data engineers? Or, like for example, I will take a product manager example myself, right? So as a product manager, I can also do product management and product design. I can do designing, right? Now with AI, I can step up the game. I can code a front-end app, make it work. I'm not saying scalability. I'm talking about, hey, Alan, use it. And you're like, oh, wow, this works. This does what you're trying to do. Jobs to be done, right? Do you think for the data engineers, those who are more such as yourself, right? You're an expert in this. Do you think it unlocks 10x of Alan? So where Alan was, let's say, one person, now with AI, they're 10x's of Alan, like 10 different Alan were operating at scale. Would you say that is the where it's headed?
I think so. It definitely will do that. Like there's this idea of a one person unicorn.
Yeah,
I think you probably heard about it in the VC community, but
yeah.
that's probably going to be a thing in the future. Like one person can create a company that has billions of dollars in value because of it. Because AI, it helps a person have so much more leverage.
Yeah, well, I'm always surprised. Do you think it changes the way we hire engineers now? Even like for product managers, that has changed. Now each product manager expected to understand a lot of things, right? So I'm wondering how change, or have you seen any trend of changing of how what's expected of an engineer, I guess.
I think so. Like you need to know how to use AI tools, and then maybe that's also related to this trend in hiring that I've seen where I feel like um, take home exams or take home projects, those are much more indicative of if a person is going to perform well or not compared to coding challenges. And then maybe what these take home projects um, they allow people to evaluate is how much the candidate is able to leverage any tool that's out there, like including the AI tools to deliver
Mhm.
on a project. And that's much different from being able to answer a coding question. And then in the future, maybe the engineer who is the best performer, it's not the person who can do the coding questions the best. It's the one who can leverage all of these tools that are out there the best.
That's very true. And I'm actually wondering too, is like this changes the way we from the PM and the designer side, they give you take home task. Like right now, you're just a prompt away. Like you give me case studies or anything. Like, yes, I will still use, but there are definitely out many candidates out there who are gonna, figure out a way, prompt their way in, reword it. And same for engineering, right? What does take home assignment means now? And I do agree with that. That's actually changes the whole game. You may want to do it in person. So it's like live, not ding the people to use AI, but I guess, are you using AI smartly? I guess, how would you use it? Right? Like, would I use AI for trends and marketplaces to understand, what's the market cap or something, a quick research, versus am I gonna make it do my task, right? So there are many ways you can use it. I don't know, but I like the point that you're bringing. Um, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I want to pivot to another topic.
Yeah, we can go on to the
Yeah.
next topic.
Yeah. So You are more familiar with when it comes to machine learning, right? So we did talk about where the future of engineering is and everything. I want to dive into this because I'm trying to understand where is machine learning now shaping up to be? Like, where do you see the trend is going towards what machine learning will be in the post AI world, which we have entered now? How do you think is going to shape up?
You mean like the potential of it? So
Yes.
the
Yeah.
future applications,
Yes.
like probably probably more far in the future is it can it can help us cure diseases. Like there there's some technologies that are doing already helping to do that. Like there's this isomorphic
Mhm.
from Google that helps with the drug discovery, but being able to do being able to create new knowledge, like discover new physics or new science. Um, Ultimately, I think that's those are some of the future applications that machine learning is going to be able to help us do. Um, like it's it's gonna make the world more abundant because like what we were talking about, it's gonna give every single person in the world more leverage. Like the people, um, we need to find a way to educate people so that they all have this knowledge. But with that, then everybody is gonna be able to produce more. Like I think another direction is so there's been a big revolution in the language models, but then um, there's this talk about multimodal. So then
Mhm.
in other spaces, there's going to be the same kind of revolution, like in robotics. So then the same technology that helps us have the language models, it will also help us have robots that can do things that physical humans can do.
Hmm. You reminded me of I forgot I saw this in one podcast. It was all in podcast, I believe. And they talked about the something AI, I guess machine learning algorithm or something. And I did try to research to find it, but actually it finds tumor before it's even formed.
Yeah,
And I was like, wow, that's because I lost one of my years ago. This is years ago, but like my mom's uncle. So he was my, I guess, great uncle. I don't know what would be the relationship. And so he died because of tumor, right? And the fact that we're in a stage where you can actually figure out a tumor forming prior to even it formed, you're putting someone's life, in a safe position. Like at least you can battle it, right? Like so, I think so you're referring to more towards in healthcare, in medical specifically, it can be transformative for people.
yeah, I think so.
Do you think like we keep talking about the cure for cancer, right? Do you think this will be finally the stage that we're getting into that figure out when it's forming, whether it's breast cancer, whether it's different kind of cancers, right? Like prior to even forming up, you can like I think there's stuff out there. I just couldn't find it right now. But do you have more on that?
I think it can advance the knowledge, but then like solving these kinds of problems, there's no defined process. Like it's kind of unknown
That's true.
how easy or difficult it is. It's like if you look at the self-driving car, even 10 years ago, we were saying it's all working and it's
Yeah.
gonna work. Then today it's
It's not even
I'd say
rolled out.
it's still not fully working because there's so many edge cases that 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 can't be handled. So
But on that edge case, I have a question, Alan. Don't you think like those edge cases could be simulated with AI or machine learning algorithms? So you can try to figure out as many. It's like somehow you have the superpower of figuring out multiverse, right? In a comic book reference. But like, is there possible to figure out multiple scenarios? As you mentioned,
yeah,
okay,
I think so. I think that's related to the previous topic about the synthetic data, like generating a
yeah.
better data set. And then I think a lot of the innovation right now in machine learning is in this area.
Hmm. Yeah, look, I hope this changes because I think that's where I want to pivot towards more is the real world applications, right? So I think we're seeing more when it comes to consumer right now. You have GPTs of the world. You have data aspect, the data businesses, and you're talking about healthcare. Are there different, also vast or more a little bit more beyond? Because right now what I'm seeing, Alan, is in terms of content creation. I'm actually working on an article which is technically talking about how content creation will be different for everyone in the next few years, right? We've seen that with GPT. We have seen that in healthcare, like how it's transforming, figuring out stuff. I'm changing the topic here a little bit. Someone who's in the forefront, right? So you deal with data day in, day out. You've been doing this for way long, right? What are some real world applications that we haven't yet seen I guess we haven't seen AI being there right now. What is missing? What are some missed, not opportunities, but like missed areas that you believe we will start seeing it more and more? Whether that's work, whether that's a professional life, whether it's personal, whatever it could be.
You mean, are you saying like you're seeing that the current AI technology it choose most for content generation, and then like what?
Yeah. What are some other ways? Because right now, here's my thing, right? So you throw a TikTok and they have some AI. You have the Substack, you upload a video, and Alan, it figures out the right content. So it transcribes your stuff and it creates clips. You have caption.ai. It can make me sound in German or Russian or Ukrainian, any language, right? For that matter, I can even speak Mandarin, right? So it's content generation that we see in work. You have Copilot by Microsoft, you have ChatGPT, Claude, charts, reading stuff, all that good stuff. You have full self-driving in Tesla. You have for machine learning algorithms for healthcare. My question is like, these are real world applications, but what are some other real world applications which are not been touched by AI yet that are waiting to be touched? Government, maybe?
Would you say government?
Yes, this is cost cutting. No,
Yeah,
that was a joke. Yeah, the government was a
make
joke.
government more efficient. Yeah, there could be there could be an AI who's kind of like the CEO of the government in the future, but that
Oh.
probably probably way in the future.
I don't know. I don't know. That's like very dystopian future if we go there. Like if you have AI as your government, geez, man. I don't know how many amount of time I'll get dinged because then it's like trained to do certain things certain way. But no, like, do you think there are other ways or other places where we haven't fully seen AI, being applied like 100%?
Yeah, I think I get your question. It's like places where AI isn't leveraged as much as it could be. So opportunities for AI to help more.
Yeah, no, no,
I
mhm. Go ahead.
I think pretty much in every field, people are trying to do something. Like one thing that you didn't mention is personalized tutors.
Oh,
helping people,
yes.
yeah, helping people learn better because the school system right now it teaches people only in one way, like kind of like maybe you listen to the teacher and you read books,
Yeah.
but different people learn best using like different modalities. So then AI can help customize the learning experience for how you learn the best.
That is very true. Like someone like me, I'm a visual learner, Alan. And at my school, when I was in high school, it was challenging. Like they would talk about stuff, and now I'm thinking of it in my brain, and the teacher would ask me, "You're not paying attentive." I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? I'm trying to visualize what you're saying. So I have to think. And so I do agree. I think personalized, but what would that mean for teacher then? Because in a sense, what you're saying, if I'm understanding that no teachers, AI only.
Like maybe the AI is kind of like the TA and then the teacher is the
Mm.
professor, kind of like that model. So the teacher is designing the class and then the AI it will present the information in the most optimal way for the students.
Would you say that that would disrupt stuff for teachers? Like they are going to be like, hey, it's going to take my job. Now I have a TA, soon I'm designing, soon I'm not even designing. Now AI is designing my course personalized for the student, right? And they're teaching. Why do I even like the schools might even think, why do we need like Cabio or no, Klarna, right? They're
Yeah,
disintermediated,
Klarna was
right?
trying to get rid of
They're
Salesforce, right?
yeah. They got rid of Salesforce, they got rid of Workday, and we are talking about personalized tutor. I am just curious, like, do you think that's inevitable? Like, sooner or later, it's gonna happen. Maybe teachers are more premium service. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
I think I think these changes they maybe don't happen that fast though because
Mm,
the AI can't do everything that the teacher can do. Like if like what we were talking about before the edge cases of the self-driving
yeah,
car. Like
yeah,
there's gonna be maybe some crazy student that the AI gets stuck. So then
it's true.
yeah, you probably still need the teacher for a while.
That actually is true. There's probably those students who are like breaking AI.
Because we even see with Waymo. Waymo seemed to work
Yeah,
10 years ago. And then
yeah.
like with the AI teacher, I wouldn't even say it seems to work today. So then we could say that um there's like at least a 10-year runway or probably more. You probably need teachers, real teachers for a long time. And
Yeah.
then like with all of this time, time there's time for society to adapt. But there's probably other professions, other functions where things will change more quickly. So then in those cases, society and government, it probably has to do something for those people.
Yeah, let's talk a bit more about that, right? Like, so let's talk about our industry, tech, right? I'm a product manager, designer, you're an engineer. Recently, we have seen that PMs have gotten laid off like it's like no tomorrow. They're like, get up, right? And now there's a whole different sense. Like there's designers who can now execute. So there's a big, topsy-turvy question. Front-end engineers, a lot of some design. So I met some designers. I'll give you more meat to it. So I met some product designers who are now learning how to code. And now, once they know how to code, they're not, of course, up to the par of the front-end engineer, but they understand. And now they're using AI to try to achieve and aim a scalable front-end application, right? Same for someone who's trying to become full stack. And though some who are full stack designers, sorry, full stack engineers, they are trying to get into phases of like, hey, I want to build this design. So they're using AI. Hey, this is what I like. Use the best use cases or the best experience and offer me that so I can code it, right? There's a lot of swirl going around, or should I say like, I guess role hopping. I don't know what the right word would be, right? And then you have data engineering roles with the AI, it's not gonna get eliminated, but like there, it's gonna really ease up a lot of things. Like maybe when you had 10 data engineers, maybe you need two, maybe three, there's a reduction in headcount. Same for PM, where a PM was doing OKRs for a product, for one product line, maybe two product line. Now that PM can perform 10x with all these foundation models, even chat BRD and all these other tools, like these are all real legit use cases, right? So I'm saying they're like, oh, I can do this. I can really have user research. Like I was at Zynga, and so I was doing user research for customers. Alan, before I had to spend hour rewatching those, it became to the point like in 3 hours, I'm done watching 40 videos, and I'm not even watching. I just understood what's going on, transcribed, understood the sentiment, had AI helping me, specifically OpenAI helped me, and it worked. Of course, you need to know how you want to use it, but that was disruption I saw in 2023 early. And of course, things are now way different. So going back to your question or going back to your topic of roles, I don't know how to even position this. It's transforming roles, right? Is it taking someone's job? I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like people need to be more cross trainers now.
Yeah.
So people have to know how to do things in many different areas. Maybe that's kind of like the role of the future.
Mm. But what would that mean for individuals? Let's say a new graduate, right? Or a someone who got recently laid off in 2023. They were just a designer, they were just an engineer. Of course, they have to learn their ropes. What would that mean for them? Because not everybody is a creator. Like, not everybody is like you, like, hey, let me build stuff. Not everybody's like me, hey, let me build fry stuff faster on my side and see if it sticks. Doesn't stick, doesn't matter. There are plenty of people out there who are just good with what they're doing, right? I'm doing this, works out for me. I guess I'm trying to get into a more deeper question is to understand what does it really means for them finding their next job, right? Like, does that mean they will even get hired at this point? Or is more expected out of them without, you know,
You mean like people who specialize in a single
yeah,
area? Is there
yes,
is there going to be a problem with that?
yes.
But then like if you're a very good specialist,
Mhm.
if you go if you're an expert in some area, then I think there's always going to be demand for that.
What if you're a generalist? Like, let's say you're a good generalist.
It
They
seems
would get,
like
yeah.
yeah, it seems like it's more important to be a generalist now because like
Hmm.
more is expected of the average individual. But if you are a specialist and if you're very good at that one thing, there's always going to be demand for that too. But maybe if you're a specialist, you have to get even more expert in that area.
Yeah. So it's like either you are jack of all trades, a really good one, or you are a master of one, like the saying goes, but a pretty,
Uh,
pretty damn good one.
So maybe the trend is that it's harder to be a master of one thing. Like
Hmm.
the bar is raised. You have to be, if you're a master today, like tomorrow you have to be like a super master, the next level master.
Yeah. I like what you're saying because I never thought of this. Actually, you're now making me think because that means that if you are someone who is good in certain category, let's say you're a good data product manager or data engineer or a staff engineer and you're good in let's say one vertical, maybe structuring data sets or whatever, right? Now you need to level up a little bit. Be like, hey, I'm not only good at this, I'm even good at these other 10 steps that are followed by using the data, right? How do you, I'm just making a data as an example because you and I, we worked in that space. I kind of like what you're saying because I think that's what's happening. And actually, that's what I'm seeing as well. Like people are becoming more generalist and gather as much as expertise they can, be good in some, and then just triple double down in one sector, maybe two, three sectors if they're good at. Um, that brings me to another point, and this is way different because we're talking about data, and is adtech, martech, right? So the cookie is not going away anymore, the third-party cookie, right? All that good stuff. When you look at specifically data segmentation tools, Alan, and you build a platform like that. I'm not going to take names of the companies that I've seen on the market, but there are plenty of data segmentation tools. The top ones, you have Segment.io to you have Trade Desk and all those. I'm just saying, like generally, there are so many segmentation tools, and how they work today. Like you have to go in, you have to select the kind of data you want to upload in. There are multi-steps. You have to click, clack, figure out, and or you have these various SQL operators. Then you also have data analyst, right, when it comes to segmentation, who are really expert in SQL operations, right? So they figure out the data that you need, and so forth. Just let me know if you're with me right now. Make sense?
Oh
Right.
yeah.
My thing is, do you think it's time to rethink how those data segmentation tools work now with LLMs? Because now that means it's very easy. Like what you can do, you can literally be a prompt away in simple English. You don't even have to figure out. Of course, you can have that advanced view of how your operators are working and so forth and the data you're getting. But do you think we've gotten to that point, specifically in data, MarTech, AdTech space, that it's gonna become fairly fluid to do a good segmentation of your data? And you know, the whole life cycle of a data for activation or marketing and different use cases would be much more like quicker now. Do you see that? Like, what are your thoughts about that? What do you see in terms of trends? What have you been seeing personally in this sector?
You mean like just using natural language to describe
Yes.
your audience?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's definitely possible. And then there's even there's like text to SQL
Yeah.
uh text to SQL generators that can do that. Um I I think like the some of the trends that I see in ad tech are more personalization, and then
Hmm.
like copy generation, because like
Hmm.
these models, they can generate text so easily, and then
Yeah.
it can it can generate a lot of good combinations for the advertiser
Hmm.
that can be A/B tested, and then the best one can be chosen. And then like I've seen I've seen new products that do real-time ad generation. So then
Yeah.
language models are it's like perfect for the language models. Um, I think one interesting thing that AI could be able to do is it can help with the attribution better,
Hmm.
because the ad tech today, I'd say it's still so primitive, because
Hmm.
the guy that's rewarded is kind of like the last click, but then that guy isn't that guy probably isn't the guy who did all the work or even most of the work in getting the customer to make the purchase.
Yeah.
But like with better machine learning, then the attribution can be much better. I think there's still challenges though, because data privacy more and more is um it's becoming more of a concern, not only in the EU, but
Hmm.
in the entire world right now.
Yeah.
And like even though the third-party cookie isn't going away,
Hmm.
I think effectively it may still go away because um I think the way that it may work is um in Google Chrome, it will make it very easy for the user to opt out. Kind of
Yeah.
like with the apps in the iPhone. Like
Yeah.
almost everybody is opting out of tracking. So then for third-party cookies, I think it may be the same way. So yeah, AI, machine learning, it's gonna continue to get better, but then the data privacy, like being able to understand users, that may continue to get weaker.
Hmm. So you're saying like when it comes to the specifically in ad tech marketing, the data segmentation, yes, it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be more downstream impact with AI. So like personalization, getting the person to click, even optimizing the funnel. I'm just trying to reiterate. If that's what you're saying is like where we're headed towards. It's more personalized content and more optimization, maybe optimization on the fly, you know, while you're driving conversion for the user, to the last click, as you mentioned. But here's a question. So you did mention about Chrome, so going to the latter part of your talk. I do agree with what you mentioned with the personalized. I think that is where I think personalization will go even beyond in the movies. I guess you can have your own movie, just a prompt away. But hey,
Yeah.
I want to see Home Alone, but this time it's Sweden. Like you can literally have that happen, and I totally bullish on that. So I do agree with that. But when you mention like eventually the third party will go away. Right now, Google is the one who's dominating. That's how they make their money, right? That's literally their bread and butter. If they do that, don't you think it'll impact their bottom line and even top line revenue extremely?
I think the profits come from search though. So search isn't impacted by that.
Well, can you elaborate more? Because I thought like most of their also revenue comes from the other ad business, right?
Um, I think they get a lot of revenue from the other business, but they have to share it with the publisher. But the
Hmm.
search is a very high margin business. So they get all of the profit. Like the search is on their own traffic. Their other ad business like ad is it AdSense or
Yeah,
yeah, that one is they need to pay the publisher and then they get a cut of it.
but that's my question, right? So if they do something like that where you can, you know, third parties are really going away, right? Wouldn't that really heavily impact their business then?
I think it would impact everyone though. And they would still like they would still
They'll,
be they would still interface with advertisers
hmm.
and they would still help those advertisers deliver ads to publishers, but um they may just not know as much about the user.
Hmm.
But there's also this their other initiative, the privacy sandbox that lets you still understand the users without the cookies. So then that that could be a thing that helps Google and also the rest of the industry still understand users without cookies.
So do you think like data collaboration, which has been, heavily driven now by LiveRamp, they bought Habu, right? If that happens, that means more and more data collaboration. So more like, first and second party data, two companies coming together, enriching their data set. That's the route that we will end up in if Google executes, be like, hey, we're done with this third party, though they're not right now, but like in the future.
There's there's these universal IDs that I don't know if you know about ID5 and
Yeah,
other companies. They have these
yeah,
called universal uh, cookie-less IDs. So
yes.
then that could be a path. Um, another another path could be hashed emails.
Mm.
So it's kind of like a common ID that people can use across different domains.
So I think that's why I guess I'm going with this like more data collaboration then. So if a
Oh yeah,
company doesn't
yeah,
have,
yeah. So
right?
That
So like if I don't,
implies more
right,
data collect.
like if I have a company and I don't own, like I don't have much insight about my users. So I'm gonna give my hash email to someone else to make sense of it. And it's kind of like the whole enrichment route. So that I think that might boom the industry in a certain way. No, this is actually very insightful that you have. I'm actually the first person who actually told me that, hey, you know what? This will eventually happen that the cookies will go away. But it's not happening now, but maybe down the line in the future, some state as privacy is boiling up more. I guess my last question I want to go into, and it's touching privacy a little bit, and it touches about responsibly using AI. I guess so. LinkedIn allows everybody to opt out of their AI training, right? And I didn't even know they had one, so I had to go in. I turned it off. I'm like, geez, man, like you got to tell me that you're taking it. Same with OpenAI, same with other tools, same with iPhone. I have that turned off. When it comes to data privacy in the world of AI, it seems it's very becoming difficult to opt out. It's like you don't even know that your data is being trained or trained on. Number one. Number two, if it's trained on, yeah, you can opt out, but maybe it's too late. I already know half of the stuff that you were doing. And so where my question is, where's the responsibility or the regulations, or how do you see this playing out? I guess, how do you see all of this playing out? Do you think the privacy wars will boil up even more, especially with these AI training?
Yeah, there has to be some balance between regulation and innovation. Like they're pushing, if you have too much regulation, then people can't innovate.
Mhm.
So I think maybe the solution is the regulation has to be flexible. So it has to be more iterative. Because the field is changing so fast that once you make some regulation, it's probably going to be um, not relevant very quickly.
Mhm.
It seems like OpenAI, they're making these data deals. So it seems like so it's different data from I think what you were referring to. I think the data that you were referring to is if you if you do a search, if you ask a question in OpenAI, can that
Yeah.
data be used? But then for OpenAI, like the internet data, it seems like there's a precedent now that you need to you need to compensate the owner of the data to start using it for training. So then maybe it'll be the same for individuals. Like
Yeah.
even the individual has to be compensated somehow.
And what about those companies who are quietly having the opt-in and the users have to make the effort to opt out? Like, how they're like, hey, we changed our terms of service. Here you go. Read this 50-page novel that I wrote. And the user
Yeah,
never reads it. I have never read a single terms of service, and you can judge me. Anybody can judge me on that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody reads it.
So
And
and then you figure out one fine day, it's like, geez, I'm opt in into them learning how I watch, I don't know, Netflix or how I spend time on internet, too much substacking, whatever. I'm like,
yeah,
geez, when did that happen?
I'm not a lawyer, but I don't, it's hard to understand how that can even be legal. It's almost like tricking the user
Yeah.
into
I,
something, into doing something that they don't really know they're doing. But that's been the standard for like even before the machine learning AI era. It's been like that always. So
like, I wonder if AI can help with that too, just sidetracking a little bit. Like, hey, this is the terms of service. Hey, this is what you need to worry about. A, B, C, D. Okay, everything
yeah,
else is normal.
yeah.
You know, that would be really cool. But I guess my question is, I guess you gave the answer to that question. Is, hey, but this has been happening, and in a, it's gonna take away from the market of learning, of adapting, of the flexibility. Is gonna take away from a lot of that from the company. So it becomes seemingly very hard for all these companies to even innovate further if they don't have enough data.
Even before AI training,
Mhm.
there was the robots.txt for
Yeah,
yeah, for crawling. And then the the big companies they need to comply with it. But then I don't think it's really policed. Like if some random person violates the robots.txt, then um there's
that's
the government isn't gonna go after that person and say you broke a law. So somehow these things aren't policed. But
But do you think
uh,
if it's more policed, Alan, like you see how EU is, right? EU is like the EU is like where innovation goes to die. I'm not against regulations, but EU is not a good example. They just regulate every single thing. They made iPhone more gibberish. It's an iPhone in EU is more like Android now. The whole idea of iPhone was it's secure, it's private, it's locked, so nobody messes up. And EU is like, oh, make it open. Let people install whatever they want to. It's like I get it, people need to have a choice, but how can company protect them? Because then the bad experience for the user. I can go down that road. I guess I don't know. And too much regulation might be turned into EU, and US is not like supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a grounds of innovation. You make some mistakes, not too much, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's I would it's better for all of us if we have a bias towards less regulation, but um there has to be some limits. Like there's that idea from Elon Musk where maybe regulations are okay, but we can't keep on adding more and more regulations. Like there has to be some garbage
Yeah,
collection every so often.
that's true. That's true.
That
Well, I
that
have
we don't that
that. Mhm.
I don't think any country has tried that. So maybe that's something that the United States could try.
That is a very interesting take. I'd actually never thought of that one. It's a yeah. I think maybe like if we, I guess we want to have a borderline kind of a regulation. Like as long as you're not doing something really crazy. I don't know what that crazy is. You can any artifact that's damaging to an individual or a sect of people or something that's targeted could be damaging, but as long as it's not for that, it's for greater humanity, and you have that use case and that thesis supporting that, and it really does, like OpenAI, then I think it makes sense to train the data, right? Not become cyber, like, what do you go, don't become Skynet. That's one way to look at it. Like, you don't want that. um I know we're getting to a time, like, I want to make sure is one parting thought I always talk to all my guests, Alan, is try to any like share hot takes or advice, suggestion, and for you specifically, because you're an engineer, we talked about a bunch of stuff. We actually did dilly-dally on a lot of subjects. What would be your one takeaway that you would be like, people need to know this about AI? And I'm an engineer. This is what I'm totally sure about this. And so you need to do X or Y. Maybe not do, but like understand or whatever. Do you have any hot take before before we end the episode?
Um, I I'd say um stay stay hands-on with all of these technologies and try them out yourself. And then I'd also say it's the idea about it's more and more important for a person to be good at many different areas. So then I think that's really helpful too. Um, I think if you understand a lot of different areas, I think you can move a project quicker, and then you can also make connections between all of these things. And that like being able to make those connections, that has a big benefit. Like being able to see the big picture and then see how different things are connected in different areas.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm actually following that exactly what you're saying, to be honest, because I think for myself, I'm doing the same thing, Alan. Like I have figured out a way how to code. Again, I used to code when I was 19, so that's been a long time. Um, I am learning new ways to leverage as much as AI you can and to try to 10x yourself. Be efficient, be 10x, and I totally am bullish on what you're saying. No, thank you, Alan, for joining and having this. I like this conversation because this was very more exciting for me because like any way we go, it's not more you know how it's more fluid, right? We talked about some of the things that I really cared about, and it's like someone like yourself is like, hey, what do you think? Nobody asked. I don't know. People do ask engineers, but I was like, I didn't get the chance to ask that, so I should ask. Why not? But no, thank you, Alan, for giving me your time for this podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Imran. It was really fun for me too.